On a crisp September morning in 2007, in the small town of Maple Hollow, a 10-year-old boy named Liam Parker left home for school, just like he did every morning. He never made it there. His mother would later say she still remembers the sound of the screen door closing behind him, the sound she didn't know would be the last. For 12 years, there were no answers, no trace, no closure, until a forgotten backpack, found deep in the woods miles from home, reopened the wound and finally revealed a truth no one was ready to face. This is the story of Liam Parker, and the secret that silence tried to bury. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with us as we delve into this haunting crime story. It was Monday, September 24th, 2007. Liam's mother, Rachel Parker, was running late for work. She kissed her son on the forehead as he tied his sneakers by the door. "Don't forget your lunch," she called out. "Got it, Mom," Liam replied, slinging his red backpack over his shoulder, the same backpack that would become the symbol of a mother's endless grief. He walked down Maple Street, turned the corner near the old gas station, and was never seen again. At 3:45 p.m., the school called to report Liam absent. By 5:30, police had set up roadblocks. By midnight, the entire town was searching, flashlights sweeping through the dark woods, calling his name. But the woods didn't answer. Maple Hollow was the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened, where doors stayed unlocked and neighbors looked out for each other, until Liam vanished. Within days, the small town changed forever. Police found no footprints, no struggle, no witnesses. His bike was later discovered half a mile away, lying neatly on its side, kickstand up, as if he'd stopped to talk to someone he trusted. Then came the first clue. A single shoe, found near a dirt trail behind Mr. Grant's auto shop. A quiet man in his late 40s who lived alone. He told police he'd been working the garage all morning, but couldn't recall anyone walking by. They searched his property. Nothing. No evidence. No motive. Just a man who seemed a little too calm for what was happening around him. Weeks turned into months. Months into years. Rachel Parker never left town. Every morning, she walked the same route her son took to school, sometimes in silence, sometimes whispering his name like a prayer. She joined support groups, spoke at missing children's rallies, and even kept Liam's room untouched, the posters, his baseball glove, his drawings taped to the wall. People told her to let go. She couldn't. "A mother doesn't stop hearing her child's voice," she once said. "It just gets quieter." By 2012, most of the town had moved on. But Rachel never stopped searching, and neither did Detective Sarah Langford, who had worked the case from the beginning. Detective Langford had spent years chasing leads that went nowhere. Truckers, drifters, even family members, all questioned, all cleared. But something about Mr. Grant, the auto shop owner, never sat right with her. He'd been cooperative, yes, but detached, almost rehearsed. When Langford revisited the case in 2019, she realized something strange. In 2007, Mr. Grant's garage had been closed for renovations the very week Liam disappeared. No one had ever checked the foundation beneath the new floor he'd poured that year. But before she could reopen the warrant, Mr. Grant died, a heart attack, according to local records. Case closed. Again, until the forest gave up its secret. A group of hikers found a red backpack wedged between tree roots in the Pine Hollow Nature Reserve, roughly 9 miles from Liam's home. The zipper was rusted shut, the fabric nearly faded white. But inside, still intact, was a faded notebook. Liam's handwriting unmistakable. The first page read, "If someone finds this, I'm scared. He said I can go home if I stop crying." Forensics confirmed it belonged to Liam Parker. And suddenly, after 12 years of silence, his voice was back. Detective Langford read every word of that notebook. Liam had written about being inside a room with no windows, and a man who smelled like oil and smoke. He said the man called him Buddy and gave him crackers and juice, before locking the door again. The final entry stopped mid-sentence. He said we're going for a ride tomorrow. The page ended there. Experts estimated the writing stopped about 2 days after his disappearance. But the location of the backpack made no sense. The forest wasn't near Mr. Grant's property. So, How did it end up there years later? In the backpack's front pocket, detectives found a Polaroid photo, blurry, but clear enough to show two people, Liam and an adult hand reaching toward him with what looked like a wrench. The background showed metal walls, oil cans, and a large hanging light. Detective Langford's heart sank. It was the same type of light used in Grant's auto shop, but the hand in the photo, it had a distinct burn scar along the wrist. Grant didn't have one, but another man in town did. Deputy Carl Henson, a police officer who had been part of the original search team. Henson had retired in 2015 and moved to a cabin outside town. Known for being helpful, quiet, and always first on the scene, he'd gone largely unnoticed over the years. But when Langford cross-checked duty logs, she found something chilling. Henson had been assigned to the school route patrol the morning Liam vanished, and his shift logs from that day were missing. When questioned, Henson laughed it off. 12 years and you're still chasing ghosts? But Langford wasn't convinced. A week later, a warrant was issued to search his property. What they found behind his shed would turn the town's quiet grief into rage. Buried beneath a tarp was a wooden crate, sealed with nails and duct tape. Inside were children's items, a watch, 2 lunchboxes, and a baseball cap marked with the initials LP. Liam Parker. DNA test confirmed it. But something else was buried with them, a journal belonging to Henson himself. Inside, he had written about cleaning up for Grant and keeping the chief secret. He mentioned the kid multiple times, describing how it got out of hand, and Grant panicked. But the final line stood out. She'll never know her own father started it. Langford froze. Who was she? The deeper the detectives dug, the darker it became. Back in 2007, Sheriff Alan Parker, Liam's father, had been the town's law enforcement head. He led every search effort, spoken to every reporter, cried on every camera. But what the town never knew was that he and Grant were old friends. They'd grown up together, ran the same mechanic shop in their 20s, and had a shared business history that ended badly. Grant had gone bankrupt after a failed partnership, one Parker quietly profited from. The journal implied revenge, but also something more. Grant hadn't taken Liam at random. He had targeted the sheriff's family to make him understand loss, and Henson, the deputy, had helped cover it up to protect his boss after the accident. Through Henson's writings and DNA evidence in the crate, a chilling timeline emerged. Grant had lured Liam into his truck near the gas station that morning, pretending to need help unloading tools. He'd planned to scare the sheriff, to send a message, but something went wrong. Liam fell, hit his head on a metal edge, and never woke up. Panicked, Grant called his old friend, Sheriff Parker, who arrived before any officers were alerted. They buried the boy temporarily near Grant's property. Later that night, the sheriff ordered Henson to move the body to an undisclosed area and destroy all evidence. But Henson couldn't do it. Instead, he hid Liam's backpack in the forest, guilt consuming him over the years. Grant's sudden death in 2019 wasn't a heart attack, as records said. The coroner's report, once reopened, revealed traces of antifreeze poisoning. Someone had silenced him before the truth came out. Rachel Parker, now gray-haired and weary, was called to the station after the discovery. When detectives showed her the evidence, the journals, the backpack, and the truth about her husband, she broke down. She asked for one thing, to hear his confession. From the archives, police found an old tape recorded during the initial investigation but never logged. It was Alan Parker's voice, shaking. I thought I could fix it. I thought if I made it disappear, I could protect everyone. But you can't bury truth. It always digs its way out. That tape, along with the journal, sealed the case. Detective Langford, torn between duty and heartbreak, arrested Carl Henson, who finally confessed in full. He claimed he'd been haunted by guilt for years, the sound of the boy crying replaying in his head. I didn't kill him, he whispered, but I helped the man who did. He agreed to lead police to Liam's remains, buried under an old oak tree near the town's edge, not far from a river. When they uncovered what was left, Rachel knelt beside the spot, holding the small baseball glove she'd kept for 12 years. For the first time, she whispered goodbye. Maple Hollow changed again, this time forever. The sheriff's name was stripped from the memorial wall. Henson was sentenced to life in prison, and the old auto shop was demolished, replaced with a small memorial garden called Liam's Place, a space for missing children and the families who never stopped searching. Detective Langford stood beside Rachel during the ceremony, watching the sunlight filter through the trees. "He's finally home," Rachel said softly. "Yes," Langford replied, "and he brought the truth with him." Justice didn't come in a courtroom. It came through time, patience, and a mother's love that refused to fade. Liam's story reminds us that even in the darkest corners of silence, truth whispers. It waits for someone brave enough to listen. And though the boy who never made it to school never came home, his voice, found between old pages and echoed through the years, became the reason others might be saved. Because sometimes the smallest clues, a backpack, a page, a name, can expose the biggest lies. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any of our content. And we'll see you next time on the Crime Scene Stories.